I'm back. All right. His hands were shaking. He drank. Oh yeah. Never mind. He drank more of the beer, and the can rattled lightly against his teeth. The dog went around the red formica table to the twin cabinet doors below the sink. It opened one of these, stuck its head into the dark space, and pulled out the bag of milk bone biscuits, which it brought straight to Travis. He laughed and said, "Well, if I can have a beer, I guess you deserve a treat of your own, huh?" He took the bag from the dog and tore it open. "Do a few milk bones mellow you out, Furface? Do a few milk bones mellow you out, Furface?" He put the open bag on the floor. "Serve yourself. I trust you not to overindulge like an ordinary dog." He laughed again. "Hell, I think I might trust you to drive the car." The retriever finessed a biscuit out of the package, sat down with its hind legs with his hind legs splayed, and happily crunched up the treat. Pulling out a chair and sitting at the table, Travis said, "You give me a reason to believe in miracles. Do you know what I was doing in those woods this morning? Working its jaws industriously, grinding up the biscuit." The dog seemed to have lost interest in Travis for the moment. I went out there on a sentimental journey, hoping to recall the pleasure I got from the Santa Anas when I was a boy. In the days before, everything turned so dark. In the days before, everything turned so dark. I wanted to kill a few snakes like I did when I was a kid, hike and explore and feel in tune with life like in the old days. Because for a long time now, I haven't cared whether I live or die. The dog stopped chewing, swallowed hard, and focused on Travis with undivided attention. Lately, my depressions have been blacker than midnight on the moon. Do you understand about depression, Pooch? Leaving the milk bone biscuits behind, the retriever got up and came to him. It gazed into his eyes with that unnerving directness and intensity that it had shown before. Meeting its stare, he said, "Wouldn't consider suicide though. For one thing, I was raised a Catholic, and though I hadn't gone to Mass in ages, I still sort of believe. And for a Catholic, suicide is a mortal sin. Murder. Besides, I'm too mean and too stubborn to give up, no matter how dark things get." I mean, that's good mentality. That's good mentality. The retriever blinked but did not break eye contact. "I was in those woods searching for the happiness I once knew, and then I ran into you." "Woof," it said, as if it were saying, "Good." He took its head in both his hands, lowered his face to it, and said, "Depression. A feeling that existence was a feeling that existence was pointless. How would a dog know about those things, Unless, unless, what the heck is unless? Unless, how would a, oh, yeah, unless. Unless, unless. How would a dog know about these things, Oh, Oh my gosh. That's crazy. Oh my gosh. I read it wrong. Depression, a feeling that existence was pointless. How would a dog know about this? How would a dog know about those things? A dog has no worries, does it? To a dog, every day is a joy. So, do you really understand what I'm talking about, boy? Honest to God, I think maybe you do, but I'm crediting you with too much intelligence, too much wisdom, even for a magical dog. Even for a magical dog, huh? Sure, you can do those. You can do sure. You can do some amazing tricks, but that's not the same as understanding me. The retriever pulled away from him and returned to the milk bone package. It took the bag in his teeth and shook out 20 or 30 biscuits into the linoleum. There you go again, Travis said. 1 minute you seem half human, and the next minute you're just a dog with a dog's interest. However, the retriever was not seeking a snack. It began to push the biscuits around with the black tip of its strap, maneuvering them into the open center of the kitchen floor, one at a time, ordering them neatly end to end. What the hell is this? The dog had 5 biscuits arranged in a row that gradually curved to the right. It pushed a sixth into place, emphasizing the curve. As he watched, Travis hastily finished his first beer and opened the second. He had a feeling he was going to need it. The dog studied the row of biscuits for a moment, as if not quite sure what it had begun to do. It patted back and forth a few times, clearly uncertain, but eventually nudged 2 more biscuits into line. It looked at Travis, then at the shape it was creating on the floor, then nosed a ninth biscuit into place. Travis sipped some beer and waited tensely to see what would happen next. With a shake of its head and a snort of frustration, the dog went to the far end of the room and stood facing into the corner. Hung low. Its head hung low. Travis wondered what it was doing and then somehow he got the idea that it had gone into the corner in order to concentrate. After a while, it returned and pushed the 10th and 11th milk bones into place, enlarging the pattern. He was stricken again by the premonition that something of great importance was about to happen. Goose Flesh dimpled his arms. This time, he was not disappointed. The golden retriever used 19 biscuits to form a crude but recognizable question mark on the kitchen floor, then raised its expressive eyes to Travis. A question mark, meaning why? Why have you been so depressed? Why do you feel life is pointless, empty? The dog apparently understood what he had told it. All right. The dog apparently understood what he had told it. All right, okay. So maybe he didn't understand language exactly, didn't follow every word that he spoke, but it somehow perceived the meaning of what he was saying, or at least enough of the meaning to arouse its interest and curiosity. And by God, if it also understood the purpose of a question mark, then it was capable of abstract thinking. The very concept of simple symbols like alphabets, numbers, question marks, and exclamation points serving as a shorthand for communicating complex ideas. Well, that required abstract thinking, and abstract thinking was reserved for only one species on Earth, humankind. This golden retriever was demonst- demonstrably, dem- demonstrably, 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 demonstrably not human. But somehow it had come into possession into possession of intellectual skills that no other animal could claim. Travis was stunned, but there was nothing accidental about the question mark. Crude, but not accidental. Somewhere the dog must have seen the symbol and been taught its meaning. Statistical theorist said in statistical stat statisticals what the heck statistical theorist said an in statistical theorist theorist said an infinite number of monkeys equipped with an infinite number of typewriters would eventually be able to recreate every line of great English prose pro English prose merely of great English prose merely by random chance. He figured that this dog forming a milk-bone question mark in about 2 minutes flat, merely by purest chance, was about 10 minutes as unlikely as all those damn monkeys recreating Shakespeare's plays. The dog was watching him expectantly. Getting up, he found he found he was a bit shaky in the legs. He went to the carefully arranged biscuits, scattered them across the floor, and returned to his chair. The retriever studied the disarranged milk bones, regarded Travis inquiringly, sniffed at the biscuits again, and seemed baffled. Travis waited. The house was unnaturally quiet, as if the flow of time had been suspended for every living creature, machine, and an object on earth, though not for him, the retriever, or the contents of the kitchen. At last, the dog began to push the biscuits around with its nose as it had done before. In a minute or two, it formed a question mark. Travis chugged some course. His heart was hammering. His palms were sweaty. He was filled with both wonder and trepidation. What does that even mean? Wonder and trepidation. Is that like, I'm guessing that means like full on curiosity. Like intensive curiosity. With both wild joy and fear of the unknown. Simultaneously, awe-stricken and bewildered. He wanted to laugh because he had never seen anything half as delightful as this dog. He also wanted to cry because only hours ago he thought life was bleak, dark, and pointless. But no matter how painful it was sometimes, life was, he now realized, nonetheless precious. He actually felt as if God had sent the retriever to intrigue him, to remind him that the world was full of surprises and that despair made no sense when one had no understanding of the purpose and strange possibilities of existence. Travis wanted to laugh, but his laughter teetered on the brink of a sob. Yet, when he surrendered to do the sob, it became a laugh. When he attempted to stand, he knew that he was even shakier than before, too shaky. So he did the only thing he could do. He stayed in his chair and took another long swallow of course, cocking its head one way and then the other. Looking slightly wary, the dog watched him as if it thought he had gone mad. He had as if it thought he had gone mad. Months ago. He had months ago. But he was all better now. He put down the cords and wiped tears out of his eyes with the backs of his hand. He said, "Come here, Furface." The retriever hesitated, then came to him. He ruffled and stroked its coat, scratched behind its ears. "You amaze me and scare me. I can't figure where you came from or how you got to be what you are, but you couldn't have come where you're more needed." A question mark. Huh? Jesus. All right. You want to know why I felt life and you want to know why I felt life had no purpose or joy for me? I'll tell you. I will. By God, I'll sit right here and have another beer and tell it to a dog. But first, I'm going to name you. The retriever blew air out of his nostrils as if to say, "Well, it's about time." Holding the dog's head, looking straight into its eyes, Travis said, "Einstein. From now on, Furface, your name is Einstein." Back to Nora, chapter 4, part 4? Part 4. Nora, oh, sorry. Streck called again at 10 minutes past 9. Nora snatched up the phone on the first ring, fiercely determined to tell him off and make him leave her alone. But for some reason, she clenched up again and was unable to speak. In a repulsively intimate tone of voice, he said, "You miss me, prettiness?" In a repulsively intimate tone of voice, he said, "You miss me, prettiness? Do you wish I'd come to you, be a man for you?" She hung up. "What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me?" she wondered. "Why can't I tell him to go away and stop bothering me?" Maybe her speechlessness grew from a secret desire to hear a man, any man, even a disgusting specimen like Streck, call her pretty, although he was not the kind who would be capable of tenderness or affection. She could listen to him and imagine what it would be like to have a good man say sweet things to her. "Well, you're not pretty," she told herself, "and you never ever will be. So stop mooning around. Next time he calls, tell him off." She got out of bed and went down the hall to the bathroom, where there was a mirror. Following Violet Devon's example, Nora did not have mirrors anywhere in the house except the bathrooms. She did not like to look at herself because what she saw was saddening. Dang. This one night, however, she wanted to take a look at herself because Streck's flattery, though cold and calculated, had stirred her curiosity. Not that she hoped to see some fine quality that she had never seen before. No. From duckling to swan overnight? That was a frivolous, hopeless dream. Rather, she wanted to confirm that she was undesirable. Damn. Streck's unwanted interest rattled Nora because she was uncomfortable in her homeliness and solitude, and she wanted to reassure herself that he was mocking her and he would not act upon his threats, that her peaceful solitude would endure, or so she told herself as she stepped into the bathroom and switched on the light. The narrow chamber had pale blue tile from floor to ceiling with the white tile border, a huge clock foot tub, pors- white porcelain, white porcelain and brass fixtures. The large mirror was somewhat streaked with age. She looked at her hair, which Shrek said was beautiful, dark, glossy, but it was of one shade, without natural highlights to her. To her, it wasn't glossy but oily, although she washed it that morning. She looked quickly at her brow, cheekbones, nose, jaw, line, lips, and chin. She tentatively traced her features with one hand, but she sought nothing to intrigue a man. At last, reluctantly, she stared into her eyes, which Streck had called lovely. So now Nora is re reevaluating herself after the words that Streck said, because Streck, even though Streck was being a creep, he was saying overly, he was complimenting her heavy. So now it's in her head. Now Nora is re-evaluating herself. Now looking at herself in the mirror in like a more positive way, because before she had an already fixed mindset about herself. Now I forgot where I was at. So, but she sought nothing, featured with one hand, but she sought nothing to intrigue a man. At last, reluctantly, she stared into her eyes, what which Streck had called lovely. They were a dreary, lusterless shade of gray. She could not bear to meet her own gaze for more than a few seconds. Her eyes confirmed her low opinion of her appearance, but also, well, in her own eyes, she saw a smoldering anger that disturbed her. That was not like her, and anger at what she had let herself become. Of course, that made no sense whatsoever, because she was what nature had made her, a mouse, and she could do nothing about that. Turning from muddled mirror, she felt a pang of disappointment that her self inspection had not resulted in a single surprise or reevaluation. Immediately, however, she was shocked and appalled by that disappointment. She stood in the bathroom doorway, shaking her head, amazed by her own befuddled thought processes. Did she want to be appealing to Streck? Of course not. He was weird, sick, dangerous. The very last thing she wanted was to appeal to him. Maybe she wouldn't mind if another man looked on her with favor, but not Streck. She should get on her knees and thank God for creating her as she was, because if she were at all attractive, Streck would make good on his threats. He'd come here and he'd rape her, maybe murder her. Who knew about a man like that? Who knew what his limits were? She wasn't being a nervous old maid when she worried about murder. Not these days. The newspapers were full of it. She realized that she was defenseless, and she hurried back to the bedroom where she had left the butcher's knife. Part 5. We're back to Vince. Okay, back to Travis. Most people believe psychoanalysis is a cure for unhappiness. They are sure they could overcome all their problems and achieve peace of mind if only they could understand their own psychology, understand the reasons for their negative moods and self destructive behavior. But Travis had learned this was not the case. For years, he engaged in unsparing unsparing self-analysis, and long ago he figured out why he had become a loner who was unable to make friends. However, in spite of that understanding, he had not been able to change. Now, as midnight approached, he sat in the kitchen, drank another course, and told Einstein about his self-imposed emotional isolation. Einstein sat before him, unmoving, never yawning, as if intently interested in his tale. I was a loner as a kid, right from the start, though I wasn't entirely without friends. It was just that I always preferred my own company. I guess it's my nature. I mean, when I was a kid, being I hadn't yet decided that my being friends with someone was a danger to him. Hmm. Travis's mother had died giving birth to him, and he knew all about that from an early age. In time, her death would seem like an omen of what was to come, and it would take on a terrible importance. But that was later. As a kid, he wasn't yet burdened with guilt. Not until he was 10. That was when his brother Harry died. Harry was 12, 2 years older than Travis. One Monday morning in June, Harry talked Travis into walking 3 blocks to the beach. Although their father had expressly forbidden them to go swimming without him, it was a private cove without a public lifeguard, and they were the only 2 swimmers in sight. Harry got caught in an undertow. Travis told Einstein, we were in the water together, no more than 10 feet apart, and the damn undertow got him, sucked him away, but it didn't get me. I went after him, tried to save him, so I should have swum straight into the same current, but I guess it changed course just after it snatched Harry away. Is this a swimming pool or a lake? Oh, yeah. So it's not a swimming pool. That's for sure. Because I came out of the water alive. He stared at the top of the kitchen table for a long moment, seeing not the red formica, but the rolling, treacherous blue-green sea. I love my big brother more than anyone in the world. Einstein whined softly. Einstein whined softly, as if commiseration. Commiseration. Ziggy, what does the word commiseration mean?
Commiseration means expressing sympathy or pity for someone's misfortune.
How would you use it in a sentence?
Here's how you might use commiseration in a sentence. After hearing about her friend's breakup, she offered words of commiseration to help ease the pain. Would you like to hear a few more example sentences using commiseration?
Yes, turn the volume up too. Let me hear it. Commiseration, 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 commiseration. Believe in yourself, believe in yourself, believe in yourself. Everything will be alright. I am a superstar. Commiseration. 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 deep sympathy. Ziggy, use commiseration in a sentence.
Here are several examples of commiseration in sentences. The team gathered around their coach with genuine commiseration after the championship loss. Her commiseration was evident as she listened to his story about losing his job.